Nephilim Revealed, a divine movie experience. Discover 40 miraculous truths that transform faith. In the third year of Jehoiakim, the world lay cloaked in darkness, a realm where the hearts of men had turned to violence and every thought was wicked. Amidst this tumult, there existed a solitary beacon of hope, a man named Noah, a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time. He walked faithfully with God. As he surveyed the chaos that swallowed his community, he sought the face of Yahweh, yearning for understanding amidst despair. Noah's heart was attuned to divine whispers. He began to grasp the weight of his calling, to build an ark, a haven designed to preserve the remnant of creation from the judgment to come. Strange visions plagued Noah's mind, revelations of the Nephilim, those legendary giants born from the union of the sons of God and the daughters of men. Mighty they were, but their strength bore the scars of humanity's rebellion against the Creator. With each revelation of their origins, Noah felt the tectonic shifting within his spirit. These formidable figures reflected the very depravity of his society, a manifestation of corruption, leaving in their wake destruction and defiance. In his heart stirred fear and resolve alike. Their shadows loomed larger as he recognized their dominion over the land swirling in chaos. As ancient Near Eastern customs enveloped his community, rituals of sacrifice, idol worship, and unspeakable acts, Noah set to work on the ark. Each beam of wood was born from faith, hewn from trees that groaned under the weight of his labor. While the townspeople scoffed, branding him mad, Noah found peace in his unwavering faith, remembering the eternal promises of God. The laughter and scorn rained down upon him, but he stood firm, driven by the sacred mission bestowed upon him. With every strike of his hammer, the sound resonated like a call to salvation. Would they not hear the echo of hope? Days turned into months. A disquiet settled over the land. The once jubiled earth lay silent and eerie, resonating the cries of a forsaken generation. The Nephilim walked among them, parading their strength, ensnaring the hearts of the people in despair. Noah witnessed their wrath, fierce and untamed, and as they wrought havoc, the Lord spoke once more to Noah, assuring him of his covenant, a sacred promise of refuge for those who obey. In the throes of this tension, Noah's heart beat fervently. Could his faith withstand the despair that threatened to consume him? While the rain fell like the very judgment of heaven, Noah stood resolute at the threshold of the ark. Would the faith he nurtured be sufficient? As waters began to rise, a dark tide of fate encroaching upon the world of the unrighteous, he clung to his resolve, driven deeper into his mission. The ark, a mysterious refuge, stood ready to fulfill its divine purpose as the heavens unleashed their fury.
What would transpire as they faced the torrents ahead, and what truths would be revealed in this unfolding story of faith? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey. I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. As the waters rose ominously around him, Noah's spirit trembled at the mystery of God's unfathomable plan. How might this tale of divine purpose find resolution? Would his hope endure the shadows of judgment that enveloped the earth? The storm unleashed its fury, and God's decisive act awaited just beyond the gale. As the deluge began, mighty torrents fell from the heavens, and the earth trembled beneath the roar of the storm. The clouds, dark and heavy, swirled like the thoughts of men, foreboding and wicked in their designs. Noah, within the comforting embrace of the ark, peered through the porthole that opened to the chaos outside. The land, once fertile and vibrant, now succumbed to the relentless grip of the floodwaters, erasing in an instant all semblance of life that once thrived. Yet amidst the clamor, a stillness settled in Noah's heart, a profound peace birthed from the depths of faith. He knelt before the Lord, offering fervent prayers, beseeching mercy not just for his household, but for those who had been lost to their ways. "O Lord, you are my refuge. Let my family find favor in your sight. May your presence overshadow our sorrow," he cried. As days passed, the ark rocked upon the emblematic waves, an island of safety in a sea of destruction. The sounds of the world that had once been filled with laughter and music were now consumed by the wrath of the Creator. Who could expect empathy from men who turned from righteousness? Day by day, the cries of despair faded into memory, leaving only the gentle hum of animals and the heartbeat of faith reverberating within the hull of the vessel. Inside the ark, the animals cohabited in silence, each aware of the divine orchestration that had brought them to this sacred refuge. Noah's family, filled with trepidation yet steadfast in spirit, tended to the needs of the creatures. His sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth worked diligently, their hands finding purpose in God's design. Each task performed was not just an act of care, but a commitment to the covenant that the Lord had revealed to their father. One fateful night, as the storm ebbed slightly, Noah heard a voice amidst the wind, a whisper infused with authority and promise. "Noah, you have found grace in my sight. I am making a new covenant.
As you rest in this vessel of salvation, my mercy will cover the earth once more. The waters shall recede, and the dry ground shall become a witness to my everlasting truth." In that moment, a clarity shone upon Noah. He understood that this trial was not simply an end, but a divine beginning. The weight of the Nephilim, of lawlessness, would be washed away, but the remnants of creation, his family, the animals, would be a testimony of enduring faithfulness. The flood would become a cleansing of the world, allowing a rebirth, echoing the promise that he would never again destroy all living things. As days turned to weeks, sunlight pierced through the dense clouds, a divine finger lifting the veil of night. The steady sound of rain tapered off. Quietness enveloped the ark as it came to a standstill. Eagerly Noah sent forth a raven, which flew to and fro until it returned no more. Next, a dove was released. Days passed. The dove's eventual return brought back with it an olive branch. Relief flooded Noah's heart. God was working, restoring, preparing to renew the earth. But beyond this rebirth lay an unanswered question. What lies ahead for humanity, and how would future generations learn from the past? Noah fell upon his knees, humbled. The Lord had spoken of a covenant, but would the hearts of men remain turned towards him? The tapestry of destiny was still unfolding, and the path forward shimmered with divine mystery. The waters receded, but would the shadow of the Nephilim loom again over the hearts of those who would next walk the earth? As Noah gazed into the setting sun, a seed of hope blossomed within him. God's plan was not yet fulfilled. The real story was just beginning to reveal itself. As the days turned to 40, the sun's warmth seeped into the ark, ushering in the promise of renewal. The silence of the world outside had become a gentle echo, and Noah felt the weight of the divine mandate upon him. He rose early, peering out from the porthole, his heart a canvas waiting for the brush of God's hand. The horizon was painted in hues of gold and green, a promise stretching far beyond his earthly understanding. Noah gathered his family before him, their faces a mixture of hope and trepidation. "The Lord has spoken to me," he proclaimed, his voice steady like the firmament above. "He commands us to be fruitful and multiply. The earth awaits our stewardship." His words were not mere declarations. They were the heartbeat of covenant promise, revitalizing the very essence of their being. Within the wooden box, the creatures stirred, their interests piqued by the unusual fervor in the atmosphere. The dove, adorned in simplicity and grace, perched beside Noah, its eyes glimmering with an understanding beyond the temporal. Yet amidst this garden of promise lay a shadow. Noah, with the weight of his forefather Adam's legacy, felt the haunting reminders of the past, the Nephilim. He turned his thoughts inward, wrestling with the mingling of hope and fear. Will our new beginning lead to a return of the darkness that once fell upon the earth? He silently pondered. In the deep recesses of his soul, he sensed the Lord's presence, like a gentle breeze caressing his heart. "Trust in my ways," the whisper seemed to echo, "for my covenant shall be your foundation." In that moment, Noah understood. Though the flood had cleansed the earth, the hearts of men were prone to the same wanderings. His task, then, would be more than mere preservation.
It would encompass a cultivation of righteousness among those who would come after him. As the ark finally began to settle upon the mountains of Ararat, the family looked upon the rooftops peeking through the waters. They exchanged glances, uncertainty mixed with an unshakable faith that the Lord had indeed delivered them. "Gather the animals," Noah instructed, and as they ventured outside, the magnificence of creation unfolded before them, a pristine world shimmering under the care of the Almighty. The animals emerged cautiously, as if aware of their role in this unfolding narrative. There they stood, a remnant of all that was good amidst the remnants of judgment. Noah offered a burnt offering upon an altar made of stones, calling out to the Lord in fervent prayer. The aroma of sacrifice rose heavenward, and the Lord smelled the sweet savor of Noah's obedience and devotion. "I will establish my covenant with you," the Lord's voice echoed as he spoke to Noah. "Never again shall the flood destroy all flesh." A rainbow adorned the heavens, a visible sign of divine promise, a heavenly arch of hope binding the Creator's love with his creation. Yet within Noah's heart, the question lingered. What will become of the generations that follow? Will they honor this promise, or will they succumb to their forebears? The shadows loomed, ever present, a silent reminder that sin was crouching at their door. And so, as they began to populate the earth anew, the Lord's wisdom became the guiding star for Noah's household. Yet the echoes of the Nephilim lurked, a haunting reminder that this was only the beginning. Would humanity take up God's command to walk in his ways, or would they again reach for the depths of darkness? Noah, standing amidst the dawning promise, knew that the story was far from over. A divine narrative awaited fulfillment, and the question lingered in the air like the scent of rain on thirsty earth. How would the future see the true reflection of God's heart? And it came to pass, as they stepped onto the dry land, that Noah, filled with reverence, turned his eyes towards the heavens. The skies were clear, the air fresh, a world reborn. He called upon his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and addressed them. "Behold, the Lord has been gracious, and has delivered us from the waters. Let us honor him in all our ways, for we are the bearers of his covenant."
The family, resolute and filled with purpose, began to explore the land, a vast expanse of nature unmarred by the hands of sin. They marveled at the flowers blooming lush in vibrant colors and the trees laden with fruits, each a testimony of God's renewing spirit. Yet in the recesses of Noah's heart, amidst the beauty and promise, there lingered the weight of responsibility. On the seventh day, as the family gathered around a fire, Noah spoke of the living God. "Though we have witnessed his judgment, we must be on guard, for the inclination of man's heart is evil from his youth." His voice carried the somber reminder of their shared past, the memories of the giants, the Nephilim, who had roamed the earth before the flood. "Let us not forget," Noah continued, "that the hearts of men may once again drift towards wickedness. As we rebuild our lives, we must teach our children the ways of the Lord, instilling within them a fear of God and a love for righteousness." As the warmth of the fire enveloped them, each member of Noah's family contemplated the sharp clarity of their task. The night sky sparkled with the scattered stars, as if the heavens themselves bore witness to the vow they were to uphold. Noah, sensing the vulnerability of their divine charge, prayed earnestly, beseeching the Lord for guidance upon the paths yet untrodden. In the still of night, as sleep claimed the weary, Noah lay awake, his spirit wrestling with the unseen forces that had once led the ancient world astray. Suddenly, a rustling broke the silence, and he turned. Emerging from the shadows, the dove he had sent forth weeks earlier returned, a twig of olive in its beak, a sign of peace and healing, yet a reminder of the violence that had once filled the earth. Noah took the olive branch and gazed upon it with wonder. "O Lord, you have granted mercy, yet I fear what lies in the hearts of men. What will become of the generations to come?"
Though the night seemed to listen, a stillness enveloped Noah as though the very cosmos conspired for a moment of revelation. And then came a whisper, gentle yet firm. "Fear not, for I have set my bow in the clouds as a reminder of my covenant with every living creature. I will lead the hearts of those who seek me, and I will preserve my remnant." The dawn broke upon the horizon, golden light pouring forth as Noah's heart quickened with new resolute. The tasks before them were great, but the promise of God loomed even larger. He turned to his family, determination etched within him, and declared, "Let us begin anew, for the earth awaits our stewardship. We shall nurture life and walk humbly before our God." Thus, in their footsteps was laid the foundation for future generations, and as they embarked upon this new chapter, Noah pondered the truth that would test the very fabric of their faith. Could humanity remain steadfast in the light of goodness, or would they stumble again into the shadows?
As day transitioned to night, the echoes of an ancient prophecy rippled through the air. "And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring." Noah sensed in his spirit that this was but the beginning of a tale woven into the very destiny of mankind. And thus the question remained, heavy with divine mystery. What would the future hold as heirs of salvation walked the narrow path? For the shadow of the Nephilim still loomed, enticing the hearts of men towards a purpose yet to be revealed in God's sovereign plan. And it came to pass, in the days following their arrival upon the dry land, that Noah and his sons began the work of cultivating the earth. With each dawn they toiled under the sun, planting seeds and nurturing the land that the flood had cleansed. Noah, sensing the weight of his calling, orchestrated their labors with wisdom, imparting to his sons the knowledge of agriculture and the ways to honor the Creator through their efforts. As the weeks turned into months, the family prospered. The land yielded fruit abundantly, and they sought to build a city, a place of safety and belonging. Yet in the hearts of Shem, Ham, and Japheth there lingered a curiosity about the world beyond their own. They spoke often of the tales passed down, of the giants that once walked the earth, and the essence of those who had succumbed to wickedness. One day, while gathering stones to erect a monument to the Lord, Ham chanced upon an unusual shape embedded in the earth, a scarred piece of metal. He grasped it, pulling it forth from its burial place. When he presented it to Noah, a shadow fell upon the patriarch's face. Noah examined the artifact, recalling the crafting of weapons that had spread so deep into the hearts of men before the flood, a memory intertwined with sorrow. "This, my son, is a remnant of the past, an echo of the violence that once ruled our world." "What shall we do with it, father?" Ham inquired, his curiosity piqued. "We shall bury it deep, as a reminder of what the Lord has redeemed us from," Noah responded, his voice resolute. "For the hearts of men can be swayed, and we must ever remain vigilant." That night, as the family gathered under the brilliant canopy of stars, they spoke of the future. "We shall teach our children the ways of God," Noah declared, "and guard against the remnants of darkness that may still linger among us." Shem looked upon his father, stirred by the stories of the ancients. "Father, what if the giants return? What if the wickedness breaks forth again upon the earth?" "Have faith, my son," Noah replied. "The Lord has promised never to flood the earth again, yet we must guard our hearts and those of our descendants. The shadows may loom, but we are called to walk in the light of his word." Then Japheth, with a spark of inspiration, shared a vision. "Let us create a place of worship, a testament to the covenant he has made with us. There we can gather, sing praises to our God, and recount his mighty works." And thus, united in purpose, they began to gather timber and stones, for they knew that their mission was greater than mere survival. It was to honor the covenant and prepare for generations yet born. Days turned into years, and a sense of unease stirred within Noah's spirit, as reports of strange occurrences filtered in from neighboring lands. Whispers of mighty beings began to reach his ears, tales of men who were of old, and of strong men, men of renown, returning to stir the hearts of men towards unrighteousness. And so it was, as the foundation of their new life in the world took shape, that Noah felt the eyes of heaven upon him once more, the weight of divine prophecy hanging in the air. "O Lord," he prayed earnestly, "what shall we do, as shadows dance upon the edges of our promise?"
Within his heart, a seed of dread took root as he recalled the whispered prophecy of enmity, a shadow of greater conflict yet to come. Would his family remain steadfast? Would they stand firm against the darkness that threatened to ensnare them once more? And as he prayed, the heavens seemed to echo back, "Prepare your hearts, for the plans of the Lord are unfolding, and the story has only just begun." And it came to pass, as the seasons turned and the earth flourished under the diligent hands of Noah and his sons, that whispers of discontent grew louder in the wind. For the remnants of the ancient world persisted, and stories of beings of great might and stature circulated among the people. The hearts of men began to stir once more, awakened by the echoes of old. Noah, while directing the final touches of their place of worship, spoke to his sons, "The days of our teaching must intensify, for we stand at the brink of a new peril. The shadows loom, yet we can hold the light of God's promise. We shall prepare our hearts and our home to resist the snares that may come upon us." Shem, being the most perceptive of the three, replied, "Father, it is said among the people that men of renown tread upon the earth again. If such responses of disobedience arise, how shall we shield ourselves from their influence?" "No man can shield another from his own heart," Noah sighed, reflecting the weight of ages. "We must turn our hearts to him who made a covenant with us. Prayer and supplication shall be our armor." And so they gathered in their newly constructed place of worship, a humble altar of stone and wood, adorned with the fruits of their labor and their offerings of thanks. The first flame ignited with their prayers, sending smoke into the heavens, a sweet fragrance as a testament to their dedication. As they offered their prayers, the heavens darkened briefly, and a wind surged through the trees, bringing with it a strange chill. It was in that moment that the ground trembled slightly beneath their feet, and a great unease settled in the air.
Noah raised his voice, declaring, "O Lord of hosts, we beseech you, show us thy will, and grant us the strength to withstand the trials ahead." In the days that followed, strange signs appeared in the heavens, a sky filled with luminous flashes, as if the stars themselves were caught in a tumult of fury. Ham, whose heart was restless, was drawn into the rumors that pervaded the regions beyond their cultivated land. Nights were spent in whispered conversations with travelers, sharing tales of mighty beings rising, and with those tales came the inflexibility of flesh intertwined with the ancient whispers. On one such evening, Ham returned home, his spirit alight with both anticipation and dread. "Father, I have spoken with a traveler who claims to have witnessed the giants. He spoke of a power that draws others to them, a lust for strength that can overtake the hearts of men." Japheth tossed a log into the fire, sending sparks high into the air. "We cannot allow ourselves to be seduced by such power. We must stand firm in our faith. Are we not a chosen remnant?" Noah, feeling the weight of prophecy upon him, commanded silence, his eyes reflecting the wisdom of ages past. "The Lord has called us to be a beacon of righteousness, but we must heed the warnings that linger like shadows. Keep your hearts steadfast in prayer and hold firm to the covenant. We must remind ourselves that our strength is not our own, but rooted in Him." And as the family gathered around the flames, united in solemnity and resolve, the air thickened with a divine awareness. They had been chosen not to succumb to the remnants of darkness, but to bring forth a legacy of faithfulness, one that would echo through generations yet to come. Yet unknown to them, a deeper purpose was unfolding in the cosmic tapestry of creation, as the heavens recorded the subtle movements of fate, preparing to unveil the next chapter of God's sovereign plan. "The time shall come," an ancient prophecy whispered across the ages, "when the paths of the righteous and the unrighteous shall collide, and the world shall tremble once more." And it came to pass, after the gathering around the altar, that the hearts of Noah's family were troubled, burdened by the weight of the tales carried by Ham. They perceived a growing discord among their neighbors, the flood of fears igniting discordant fires upon the earth. Noah, full of concern, called his family unto him once more, as the evening sun stretched its golden arms across the horizon. "Come, my sons," he urged, "let us delve into the ancient scrolls that recount the days of old, for in remembering the wisdom of our forefathers, perhaps we may find a remedy for this discontent."
Thus they spread the parchments before the altar, their fingers tracing the ancient letters, as they uncovered the truth of Genesis and the creeping shadows of imperfection that had led to the great flood.
The words spoke of giants, Nephilim, born from the union of the sons of God and the daughters of men, mighty men of renown whose wickedness filled the earth with violence. As Ham read aloud, the crackling fire danced in rhythm with his voice, and the words took on a life of their own. And the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. The family shivered, recognizing the echoes of humanity's fall from grace, hauntingly familiar. What if such beings arise again? Shem pondered, shaking with the weight of his thoughts. The hearts of men, when swayed by power, can lead them down paths uncharted and unfathomable. "Fear not, my sons," Noah replied, firm yet gentle. "As the Lord was merciful then, he bears mercy still. We must walk circumspectly, taking heed of our own inclinations. The heart of man is perilous, but we have the promise of his covenant." That night, as they slept, the air grew heavy with anticipation. A deep rumbling echoed across the land, and in the silence of the hour, their dreams became tangled with visions of great height and terror, a darkness enveloping those who sought power for their gain, only to find themselves ensnared by vanity's grasp. The prophetic whispers scratched at the edges of their minds, portending the return of the Nephilim. When morning broke, Ham felt a burning desire to seek out the seekers of power. "Father," he declared, "I must journey into the heart of the land where these tales arise. I feel the pull of their whispers. Perhaps to understand them would be to know how to confront them." Noah's brow furrowed, for he knew the danger that lay in such pursuit. "Son, beware. Curiosity can be a sword that cuts both ways. Stand strong in prayer, for even now the adversary weaves through the hearts of men." Yet Ham's heart was set. As he departed, Japheth turned to Noah and said, "Is it godly wisdom or perilous folly that dwells in Ham's heart? Shall we not follow him for safety's sake?" Noah considered the question gravely. Each man must choose his path, and we can only guide with love. But heed this, it is written, "They that seek the Lord shall not want any good thing. May God's grace keep him." Days turned to weeks, and as the nights grew long and shadows stretched upon the land, Ham encountered those who thrived on the brink of wickedness. The legends of the Nephilim, recounted by those he met, stoked the embers of temptation. Yet unknown to Ham, the hearts of many were turning towards a dark tide, and within the secret gatherings there arose a thirst for the flesh of knowledge intertwined with forbidden power. The weight of the ancient prophecy loomed large, revealing a divine thread connecting Ham's path to the hearts of the myriad restless souls. And so the stage was set for a dramatic confrontation, when the paths of the faithful and the forsaken would soon entwine.
For the Lord, in his sovereignty, held the hearts of men in his mighty hands, preparing to reveal, "Even in darkness my purpose shall prevail, and the dawn of redemption shall break forth anew." And it came to pass that Ham wandered into the heart of the land, drawn by whispers that danced upon the winds. The sun bore witness to his steps, illuminating the path that spiraled ever deeper into the shadows of temptation. As he traversed the landscape, a foreboding sense wrapped around his spirit, for he felt the echoes of ancient curses lurking beneath each stone and within each rustling leaf. At the edge of a great city, he beheld the multitude gathered beneath a towering stone edifice, their eyes glimmering with a fervor fed by the flesh of knowledge and the blood of ambition. There, in the depths of the assembly, he sensed a power, a haunting familiarity that chilled his bones. Who dares seek what is hidden in the depths of creation? A voice like thunder rumbled from the altar, commanding silence over the throng. It was a man clothed in resplendence, a herald of knowledge whose eyes spoke of ancient secrets. "Come forth and lay bare your desires. The power of the Nephilim shall be yours, yet tread carefully, for a price shall be exacted." Ham's heart raced within him as the crowd surged forward,
intoxicating him with promises of immortality and dominion. He felt the intoxicating allure of power and glory whispering in his ears, urging him to take part in this dark congregation. Yet a flicker of his father's warning danced in his mind. A shadow of doubt mingled with the radiant light of truth. "Am I to forsake the covenant my father spoke of?" he murmured to himself, torn between the path of righteousness and the insistent call to greatness. At that moment, the atmosphere grew charged with anticipation as the speaker beckoned the assembled to bring forth their sacrifices, an offering of the heart, of flesh, and of truth. "Will you join us, young seeker?" a voice purred from beside him. It belonged to a woman, beautiful yet foreboding, whose allure was almost unbearable. "Imagine the glory, the power to reshake the world. All men shall bow before you." Ham's thoughts clashed within him, for the weight of the ancient scrolls, the words of his father, and the essence of his being pulled him in opposing directions. "What must I offer?" he asked, caught in the web of desire and dread. "Only the surrender of your soul," she replied, her smile both seductive and sinister. "Forsake the bonds of man and rise among the Nephilim." And yet, in that moment of uncertainty, Ham recalled the voice of his father filled with faith and divine assurance. He remembered the mercies of the Almighty, how he spared Noah and his household for their faithfulness. Ham understood that surrendering to darkness would sever him from the hope given in the covenant, a bond that was meant to endure beyond the tempest.
As the throng demanded answers, the air thickened with temptation, bearing the aroma of death veiled in sweetness. In a sudden rush of clarity, Ham raised his voice above the clamor. "I seek the will of the living God, not the pursuit of fleeting power, but eternal life that comes from His covenant." A hush fell over the crowd, and the figure at the altar turned, his fierce gaze piercing through the veil of Ham's resolve. "You would turn your back on your inheritance for a promise unfulfilled. Be warned, the path of the faithful comes with trials that will shake the very foundations of your soul." With fervor unyielding, Ham declared, "Though I descend into the darkness, I will hold fast to the light. I am my father's son, and I will seek the Lord with all my heart." The crowd roared in disbelief, the flames of bitterness igniting in those who longed for power. The air crackled with malevolence, and Ham felt the precipice beneath him shifting as he took a stand amidst shadows gathering. Yet the sovereign Lord, the God of Noah, looked upon Ham with eyes of mercy, for within his heart resided the seed of promise, one that would bear fruit even amidst the desolation. And as Ham stood firm, the words of ancient prophecy echoed anew. "For behold, I will send my messenger, who will prepare the way before me." Thus the stage was set for a revelation, for as Ham resisted the tide of darkness, the veil lifted ever so slightly. The time approached when God's sovereign plan would unveil the fate of all nations, reminding the hearts of men that even in the depths of despair, His purposes would prevail. And it came to pass that as Ham stood resolute, the multitude stirred with a restless intensity. The fervor of ambition began to morph into a vengeful fury, for they could not abide one who defied the allure of the dark promise offered to them by the resplendent speaker. "Cast him out," cried one, a man whose heart quaked under the weight of envy. "He seeks to dim our light with the old stories of his father. Let him stand alone among the shadows of his own choosing." The seductive woman beside him, her smile now twisted, stepped forward, her voice like honey dripping with malice. "Ah, but young Ham does not yet know the depths of his folly. The powers he spurns are but a taste of the glory that lies at our feet." Yet Ham's spirit surged, fortified by the truths veiled beneath the veil of flesh. "I have heard the voice of the Lord, and His word shall be my shield," he proclaimed, his voice reverberating with the authority of his ancestors. "You seek to climb higher by treading the paths of chaos, but I shall trust in the Creator who made the heavens and the earth." A tremor ran through the assembly, wrestling with disbelief. The speaker at the altar, noticing the shift in the hearts of the crowd, raised his hand. "Why waste your breath on this one?" he thundered. "Fear not to lose the brambles of your mortal plight." The Nephilim would grant you undeniable power. What need have you of a covenant so ancient, a promise so distant? Suddenly, the skies darkened, and a rumble of thunder rolled over the crowd, as if the very heavens were stirred by Ham's declaration. In that moment, the air vibrated with fear and doubt, and a shadow swept over the assembly, obscuring the sun for a heartbeat. "Hear me, you who thirst for dominion," the resplendent man called forth. "I stand before you as a harbinger of great power. The Nephilim lie nestled in the bones of the earth, waiting to rise again. Is it not preferable to wield the might of fallen angels over the frail curses of the past?" But Ham, emboldened by the mere remembrance of his father Noah's faithfulness, cried out, "For destiny does not lie in the shadows, but in the arms of the Almighty. Seek not the glory that fades, but the love that endures. The Lord shall be our guiding light, and in him do we find our legacy." The crowd, torn between awe and defiance, began to murmur among themselves. The essence of Ham's conviction pierced their hearts, and for a moment the spirit of rebellion waned. Suddenly, from the shadows emerged a figure cloaked in white, illuminating the darkness like the dawn after night. "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled," she spoke, her voice a melody of hope. "There is a promise yet unfulfilled, a greater power found only in faith, not in forsaking your soul." All eyes turned to this figure, the embodiment of truth, and a wave of recognition swept across the crowd as they digested her words. "The time comes when the seed of the woman shall crush the serpent's head," she continued, her countenance glowing with righteous fervor. "Yet first you must choose whom you will serve. Will you align with the powers that drag you into darkness, or will you surrender to the light that gives life? The Lord has plans to prosper and not to harm, to give you hope and a future." The crowd breathed in the possibility of hope, a question forming in their hearts and minds about the path they had chosen. But the man at the altar, witnessing the shifting tide, seethed with contempt. "Behold, this fool has claimed our minds," he spat. "He shall regret this day, for the legacy of the Nephilim will rise, and those who refuse shall be cast into eternal night." Thus, as darkness loomed and uncertainty reigned, Ham stood firm, for he felt the very hand of God moving amidst the turbulence, preparing to unveil a divine truth that would obliterate the shadows around him, an ancient promise waiting to be resurrected. For indeed, the time was coming when the faith of one would break the chains for many, leading them into a covenant of hope renewed. And a whisper echoed through the expanse. "They shall see a great light, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace."
And it came to pass after the great confrontation among the shadows that minds awoke to the possibility of grace. The atmosphere was charged with questions and uncertainty, yet Ham's steadfast declaration reverberated through the gathering like a clarion call, piercing the gloom and beckoning many to reconsider their paths. For in that pivotal moment, the truth of the covenant stood as a radiant beacon against the tide of darkness. The figure draped in light, the herald of righteousness, spoke with urgency. "Listen, O souls caught in the vanities of flesh. The Nephilim were but a shadow of God's creative power, twisted into rebellion. They sought dominion over the hearts of men, yet the Father in heaven offers a different legacy, a legacy of faith and redemption." Her words fell like rain upon thirsty ground, and many began to turn their eyes upward, seeking a deeper meaning. In the midst of this spiritual turmoil, Ham felt a surge of solidarity from those who had timidly hidden in the crowd. They began to echo his sentiments, courage kindling within them. "We shall not bow to the remnants of tyranny. The covenant of our forefathers binds us to righteousness," they cried, voices growing stronger like the firs that swayed in the wind. With power and glory the emanating figure continued, "The time draws near when the heavens will not only witness your struggles, but will unveil the hope promised long ago. Stand firm, for even the darkness shall reveal the strength of the light within.
The principal speaker, whose enticing voice once captivated their hearts, raged against the swelling tide of faith rising among the people. "Fools, do you not see the might offered before you? You wish to cling to the bygone promise of a forgotten deity when power lies at your fingertips?" He thrust forth his hands, as if to summon the very foundations of rebellion buried deep within the earth. But even in the face of this defiance, the crowd's faith sparked anew, igniting whispers of remembrance of the great flood and the deliverance found in Noah's Ark. They felt the heavy mantle of the old ways lift, and voices called for strength to echo Ham's resolve. "Let us remember the love that saved us from destruction. The God of our fathers is alive, and so shall we put our trust in his eternal mercy." And it was then that an unseen force erupted, shaking the ground beneath them as the heavens responded to their cries. The very sky quaked, and a flash of divine light severed the dark shroud of chaos. Ham felt a deep reassurance. The Lord God's mighty hand was at work, ready to restore hope and truth. A wind like none other swept through the crowd, and the hearts once entangled with dread transformed into vessels of faith. Tears streamed down faces, now aglow with the purity of conviction, for they felt the warmth of God's grace washing over them like the cleansing flood long ago. Choose this day whom you will serve.
The light-clad messenger urged, her voice cascading through the air with undeniable authority. For the powers of darkness may tempt, but they also tremble before the triumph of light. Bathed in the warmth of new hope, they began to respond together, united, the sound of their voices creating a harmony that resounded through the streets. "We shall follow the path of light. We will reclaim what was lost." Ham, filled with the spirit of conviction, stepped forward among the throng. "Our covenant rests on the faithfulness of God. The shadows of the Nephilim shall not rise again upon our hearts. The promise of hope reigns. Come, let us be witnesses of his saving grace." From that day forth, the people turned away from the allure of the ancient tales spun with false grandeur, and began to walk in the light of faith. Ham returned to Noah, bearing not only a warning, but the fruits of a new-found determination to guide their descendants toward righteousness. As the families grew and flourished under Noah's steadfast leadership, they held fast to the teachings passed down from generation to generation. The altar of faith was rebuilt, fiery and alive with worship, echoing through the ages as a monument to the covenant that stood firm against the ebb and flow of humanity's struggles. And lo, in the fullness of time, they would come to witness a new dawn, the birth of the true offspring, who through humility and suffering would break the chains of darkness forever, declaring victory over sin and death. God's assurance would be sealed through the ultimate sacrifice, paving paths of righteousness for all mankind. Noah and his family, sensitive to the whispers of the covenant, nurtured their legacy with prayer and purpose, knowing that each choice they made could either turn hearts toward righteousness or lead them down the shadowed paths of despair, enticed by whispers of old. And so, as the generations flourished, there emerged a greater understanding of what it meant to walk humbly with God, an understanding rooted not only in fear of judgment, but in the profound love that beckoned all to partake in his divine redemptive narrative. As it is written, seeds of faith once planted bore fruit that would resonate through centuries. The rescue from the flood was but a prelude to the greater salvation awaiting those who would respond to grace, the promise echoing through eternity, a light that shatters darkness, declaring always, "I am with you, even to the end of the age." And with that, dear friends, if this story has ignited a fire within you, do not wait. Subscribe immediately to our channel to stay connected to God's Word. Leave a like now to help spread His truth through the algorithm. Comment your reflections on how this biblical story transformed your faith. And share this powerful testimony instantly with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's message of hope. You need to join our community today. Don't miss out on the next chapter in God's marvelous plan. Let us arise together in faith for His glory.